right, everybody. Welcome to this week's Beer Leaguer podcast. Today we have a guest. We got Rob here.
Hi, everybody.
And today's topic is going to be something that it's started for me now because I've joined a new team this year. I'm still on my old team, joined a new team. And so we're going to talk about the dynamics of joining a new team and what that entails. Rob has been on multiple teams, a lot more teams regular than I have been the last couple of years. And yeah, you've been around. Well, you play goalie now, so you're all over the place. You're kind of in all sorts of locker rooms all the time, filling in people.
This is true, yep. And I've switched being the goalie on a couple teams, and like you said, switched a couple teams, regular skating out as well.
Yeah, so, and this is all new for me because I was just telling you before this is the first time I've been on a new regular team since probably about 20 years that I've moved on to somebody. I've done tournaments, I've done, do pickups and stuff like that, but that's very, very different dynamic. So do you want to start? Do you have some thoughts?
Well, luckily I haven't had to do it recently. Not that it's a bad thing. I shouldn't put it that way. But yeah, it can be, obviously you're going out there, you want to play hockey and have fun, but the locker room is such a huge part of it. And, it can be a gamble. You're obviously, depending on your team, you're playing with at least 10 other guys, usually more than that. And, you don't always know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, I know that with your situation, you kind of knew the team, the team, they've been around long enough, you know who the guys are, but that doesn't mean you know the guys. So yeah, it can really make or break a season, and it's a big commitment too. If you're gonna, it's a year commitment, and you may have to buy jerseys and all sorts of other things like that.
Yeah, I think for me that's always the biggest thing for jumping onto a new team is it's hard to try it out. Like it's hard to try it out and see the guys because I know guys from being around the rink. I know most of the guys on the team. I'm familiar with them and know them. But it's such a different thing from knowing guys when they're playing or even playing with guys in pickup or in some situation like that versus, you're hanging out before, even just in locker room, but it's also a thing for me of, because some teams go out before games and hang out. Some teams go out after games and hang out. I know that there are teams that go do like non-game things, like they go out and do stuff, like during the week. I mean, you've been on teams that do that.
Sure. Yeah.
I've been on teams that I had an old team of mine. We used to do things. We barely hung out before and after games. Like we just almost, it was kind of get in, get out before and after games. Hardly did any kind of stuff, but we did all kinds of outside of hockey stuff. Like we did a putt tournament. A thing. It was like almost everybody on the team and a couple people had their kids and stuff, and we went to a putt place on a Saturday, and there was, I think, like 15, 16 of us, and just did a putt thing. And then we used to do a year-end banquet. That was a big deal for us at the end of every season. We'd go rent out a party room at a place and just, like hang out. And like we did that stuff versus hanging out before and afterwards. Whereas, a lot of the teams I know now, I mean, Crusaders now, I should say Rob's on the Crusaders with me. And that, we don't really do too much before games, but there is a lot of after game hangout. But there's not much outside of that, really.
We try, but it just never seems.
Everybody wants to. Everybody asks to. And just nobody ever can, because everybody's got kids and families and stuff. So, they're not able to. Or it's very different. Like I try every year, like who wants to go out to like something else, and everyone has different days they can go.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things for being on a new team is getting like kind of that dynamic is I think bigger than even the on ice thing. Because on ice thing you pick up.
Hockey's hockey.
Yeah, it's not that different from going to like a pickup, games or I go to stick and puck out here occasionally and go into that kind of stuff. It's not that different. I mean, you get that dynamic, but it's the locker room dynamic that's very different. And then seeing how different people are, because a lot of the people are very, they're one way. on the ice and then very different off the ice with stuff. You know, it's and jumping into that and kind of trying to figure out how your place is in that and how that works. That to me is the thing that's been odd for me this year. A little bit, just seeing the different stuff for it, because I'm very used to, how we do stuff versus how other people do stuff, and just
because you don't want to walk in that locker room as the new guy and I don't want to say start barking out orders,
right?
But, you don't want to start. Well, why don't you do it this way? Why, you got to feel it out, and that I wanted to kind of go back to a little bit what you were talking about, and with joining the new team too, you could have the complete opposite. You're talking about the social aspect. You could join a team that has no social aspect to it at all, which could be really awkward. You come from a team, like you're saying, like us, who, we're always, before the game sometimes, or after the game, almost always, to somebody where it's people are just getting dressed and running out of there as fast as they can. Half of them don't even shower and they're out the door. It's just kind of like, okay. I know me personally, I can't just go home after hockey. I'm all wired up, and I need to blow off a little steam before I can go home and go to bed. And so yeah, it could be very, very interesting situations depending on where you get. So
yeah, what the thing that gets to me is I don't know who to ask about it, because you asked everybody, like you ask anybody on the teams, and everyone has different perspectives for it. So it's not even something you can ask and say, hey, how's this team do with this? How do you guys do that stuff? Because everybody has very different ideas of it. Because I did kind of ask a little bit some of the guys on the new team, like, what do you guys do before and after? And I mean, some of the guys that I'm asking, and they don't do anything before or after. So like, I don't know. I don't think they do anything. Anybody
do they even bring a beer bucket or anything like that?
No, they don't do anything like that. It's the first game, I think one guy had beers in his bag.
He's the guy who wishes that everybody went out.
I think that's it. Like that's it. And I don't know. It was such a weird contrast, because I'm used to us where we have a beer bucket for every game. And even if we don't go out, most people stick around in the locker room for a while, having beers and stuff afterwards and just hanging out for a little bit, and then eventually kind of float out. Maybe we go somewhere, and even if we don't, you're in there. Whereas this is a lot more. I mean, I know I'm a slow person to change. Usually, I'm also usually the last one off the ice. And
change is hard, Ross.
It is hard. But like, I'm all done getting my stuff off. I got my clothes on, and it's like there's usually like one person and the goalie left, and that's it. Everyone else is gone. Like they are long gone out of there.
Well, maybe it could be also a situation where, with the influx of new people, because I know you're not the only new person on that team.
Yeah,
maybe if you get an influx of people, not saying that you're the go out and party after every game kind of guy, but that kind of gets that, gets the wheel in motion a little bit. Maybe it's they've done what they've done for so long. They're in a routine, or maybe even call it a rut. Maybe they just got any little bump in the road to be like, hey, you know what? Why don't we go out and get a beer afterwards?
Maybe.
But again, then you're getting into the, you don't want to start stepping on toes or
yeah, because that's where I'm at with a lot of, to move out of the locker room stuff. That's where I'm at with a lot of not locker room and actual hockey stuff is, and I think you've heard me mention all this kind of stuff before. One of the things that's really odd to me is they don't talk between periods. I've never been on hockey that doesn't talk between periods. And that's a big thing. I'm all about, like, I always have something. I always try and bring up something to say between periods of hey, we got to shoot more. Hey, we got to make sure we're getting back on D. Hey, something, just to have something to say. And not that I'm necessarily saying the right things or the best things to say, but a lot of times I'll start saying something and then someone else, will chime in and go, oh, hey, did you notice that the other team's always doing this? They're always doing, trying to have a cherry picker, or always, shooting pucks here and then trying to crash, or so, people kind of start, just to kind of get the, the ball rolling with stuff. And like, that's one of those things. They don't talk between periods. Like, all right, whatever. But I don't want to be the guy that starts doing it, because I don't feel like, as the new guy, that's really, I'm the new guy. I'm not in as like a new guy that's really good. Like it'd be one thing if I was a ringer and I'm coming in there and saying stuff, but it's like, no, I'm not. I'm a warm body for them, really.
Yeah.
That's about it. And yeah, that's an odd thing to me, because to me that feels a lot like doing like a pickup game or something like that, where you don't really talk, you don't really care, you're just kind of screwing around, and,
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe you start simple. I mean, if it's something that I guess, do you think the team needs it? I mean, do they need? I mean, everybody needs coaching and a set of eyes to help them see. Do you think that maybe they're just comfortable doing what they're doing? Or maybe you could even start with something, I think you're playing defense with these guys. You just start with your D partner. Hey, what
I do. Well, that's the thing.
What do you like to do? Are you going to carry the puck? Or are you a stay at home?
Yeah, fortunately,
questions maybe to bring people
because that's because I'm willing to, so that's where I go. That's how it always works. No, and I mean honestly, the two guys that I've been playing with are guys that I know, so like I will talk to them on the bench. Like I will. Okay. And let them know, like, hey, I'm going to do this. Hey, are you still doing this? Great, and it's good. Last game there was 5 defensemen that rotated through, and the one guy was really good, and he was actually kind of would talk out there, which was super helpful. Because I'm like, I don't know him. I don't know when he's thinking of carrying a puck, and and that's what I was trying to tell the 2 other guys I hadn't played with, like, hey, if you can let me know when you're going to jump up, or, because I'll go back a little bit more, and hey, I don't want to carry the puck. If you get it to me, I'm going to pass it right out. So don't expect me to rush with it or something. And they were pretty good about, they were pretty good about listening to it. And that's what I'm saying. I don't want to say like I'm coaching guys. Like I'm definitely not coaching anybody, but it's more of just, to me, I think if you talk like between periods or talk on the bench, you're a lot more likely to be yelling stuff out on the bench to your teammates about things, or talk on the ice. Because to me, it's talk on the ice is the thing I care about more than anything, because that's what's super helpful is when you're on the ice and, especially on D, if your D partner's talking to you, or if your goalie talks to you and says something, like, hey, there's, one on you, go harder on the boards, or, you got time, take, to me, that stuff is super useful. And that's like the most helpful thing. That's not coaching. That's just talking.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't naturally do that. I've noticed a lot of higher level guys do that. And I think that's because you're taught that, like in high school and stuff like that, to always be talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of guys don't do that naturally. So my thing, especially for trying to get conversations going and start talking, is that if you're talking kind of when you're sitting on the bench or talking between peers and stuff like that, you just kind of get used to talking more. And so you will yell out. Like, for Crusaders, our bench is pretty vocal. We'll try and help out with stuff. I mean, maybe it's not always the right stuff to say, but we'll say, but we'll say stuff, and that is helpful. That's super. And like for me, as someone that's slow as anything and doesn't want to carry a puck, it's super helpful to know, like, I got time. Like, okay, let me get the puck, turn around, look where the forwards are going, go, versus like if they're going, get rid of it. Like, oh, okay, let me get it and just like whack at it and get it out of here.
Yeah. Maybe they're all just painfully shy. I don't know. I think, though, again, maybe I don't think you would step on toes, but maybe you just start talking on the bench. I don't think they're going to, not telling people what to do, but if you just start with the man on, or, just the little dumb observations, I shouldn't call them dumb, the little observations that you were talking about. If you just do little things like that, maybe other people will open up a little bit more, or maybe you're just the only guy on the team that yells things out. I don't know. I do that sometimes. I'm at drop-ins and I'll be yelling 2-on-1, but nobody else says a word, so, but.
Well, that's what I was wondering. It's because you're on other teams. Do you see that, or is it normal to do that? Not normal? Is it?
I think generally on the ice, people, at least at our level for sure, people don't talk as much as they should. Like you said, and you watch any higher level game, they're always communicating and talking to each other and telling each other what's going on. And definitely at our level, that doesn't happen as much or as well as they would communicate it. But pretty much every team I've ever been on, like I've never had like what you're describing, where it's just not silence, but it's not really a lot of that going on. Like you said, the drop-ins, sure, yeah, that's kind of be expected because you don't know who you're with and that kind of thing. But yeah, I could see where that would be. It would be odd, I think, for me because I am, me, I'm vocal. I'm always yelling stuff out and stuff. So to be the one guy sitting on the bench yelling stuff out, I don't know. I start feeling a little weird, like you would say, but then I'd also be that guy who's bringing a 12-pack in my bag and sitting in the locker room drinking it by myself, apparently too. So,
yeah, but I mean, me, like I'm not super vocal on the bench. I don't yell a lot. I do a lot more of like lean over and like, hey, I think that they're having that guy, that one winger's always coming down hard on the side. If you go to him, I'll just cover you in the middle. Just go, push on him. Go straight. It's all right. I'll cover behind you. I'll play the middle. I won't play my side. It's I'm more to do that versus yell out the stuff during the game, like for those things. I don't know. I see all the stuff, but for some reason getting it from my head to my mouth doesn't. It's such a delay that it's no longer relevant once it gets out. Like that's the problem I have.
Yeah. Yeah, when you got to do it real fast. I yell dumb stuff sometimes too. And I notice when I yell things, I always yell it twice. Man on, man on.
I think most people do. I think most people yell it multiple times. Most people don't yell it just once. Because usually you don't hear it. Like at least when I'm skating, if the bench yells something, a lot of times the first time that it's yelled, I don't know what it is. I have no idea what they're yelling. And it's kind of like once I hear the bench yelling, it's like, oh, now I want to make sure I hear it, kind of listen for it.
Yeah, that can be frustrating when I'm playing goalie, when they get that cherry picker in the middle and I start screaming, guy in the middle, and the defense do not turn around and look. It's kind of like goalie's worst nightmare. Get that guy all by himself there.
That's the thing I wonder with playing goalie is because most goalies talk out there. I've noticed, like most goalies do, whether or not they're saying stuff that makes sense is another thing, but most of them do talk. But one of the things that's weird to me is depending on who is playing goalie, because I play defense usually, so I'm back there with the goalie. Is goalies say different things and mean different things all the time, and that's super confusing to me to keep that straight. Because I'll have goalies say things like, some goalies yell screen, meaning I'm being screened right now, move someone. And then some goalies yell screen, meaning somebody's coming in to screen me, stop him. Or, there's been goalies that say stuff like, you get a puck behind the net and you're going to, do something with it. Some of them will say reverse, and they literally mean just like, backhand it. Whereas some goalies mean, no, turn around and go. Like turn around and go with it. You have like wide open space over there.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. And that's super confusing to me. Like it's helpful. And I don't want to tell goalies don't do it, but that's super confusing. Now I'm playing with a new goalie behind me and he talks, which is great, but he's completely different than, the goalie I'm used to but he says the exact same words, but they mean completely different things.
Yeah. That could be problematic. Yeah. Well, good thing he's a talker. He's one guy on the team that's a talker, so you don't have any problems figuring out what he's trying to say.
He's pretty quiet, though.
Oh, yeah. You mean in the locker room or on the ice?
No, on the ice.
See, I would think he would be a trash talker.
Oh, he talks a lot, but it's like his volume's low.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
His volume's very low. That's a big thing I noticed with goalies is, like I said, most goalies seem to talk and will say stuff, but it's the volume is so different. Like some goalies, you have to be if you right next to them to hear what they're saying.
Yeah, I guess when I talk to people, I try to keep it brief because you need to know what to do, and you need to know what to do quickly. And I usually the most of my communication would be to tell you or tell whoever's near me with the puck their situation. I very rarely, which I need to work on this, say screen, which to me, you're talking about what it means to certain people. To me, that means somebody's in front of me. It could be you, my teammate. It could be somebody else. If it's somebody else, I like to think my teammate is going to be trying to move him.
Right.
I generally don't say it because I found a lot of people didn't listen, or like you said, or they get confused. And afterwards they'll come. I didn't know if that meant you were screening me or So
Yeah.
now I just kind of try to peer around people. Sometimes I say screen, but it doesn't stop people from standing in front of you anyways. And you always have those couple defensemen. Every team I play for, there's always that one defenseman who'll stand perfectly right in front of you at all points, no matter where that puck is. But yeah, when I talk to the defenseman, I'll try to tell them you either have a lot of time or you don't have a lot of time. Or I used to try to instruct people, like you were saying, on what to do behind the net kind of thing. But I found it to be confusing to convey what it was I would like them to do. So that's why I will just basically say you have time or you don't have time. And I like to think that my teammates know the game well enough to, when they're behind the net, to know, pick your head up or maybe do a reverse move or stop behind the net, because that generally, if you don't have a man right on you, you can see where you want to go.
Right.
And, see the ice ahead of you.
Yeah, I'll say I appreciate that. I appreciate the simplicity for things, because it's a lot easier to. I played defense in front of you. It's a lot easier to basically make me figure it out. You're just telling me, hey, there's somebody right on you. Do something, go, or no, you got stop, assess the situation, whatever. That's a lot easier versus yelling like something like what's some of the weird things I've heard. I've heard somebody say, they say hard around, but you're behind the net. And somebody's hard around means the direction you're going, where somebody else's hard around means, they're saying going the other way or something. Like stuff like that is super confusing because you have to think about it. And at our level, if you have to think, you're going to screw it up. Like, because it could take you so long to figure it out, because the whole thing for having like people talk on the ice is you don't have to like turn around and look what's going on. You can just keep going with what you're doing.
Yeah. I feel bad sometimes too, because like I said, the only thing I'll say is you got a man on you, you don't. And unfortunately, sometimes I've been guilty of not taking a look over my shoulder before I tell somebody they have time, because there's a guy coming like right past me. And I'm like, oh, you got time. Oh, no, you don't. So.
That's all right. We all do that. We do that from the bench when you yell at people. Like I've seen, you yell at the bench. Like it's always one of my favorites is somebody has their back to the play because they're going back to get the puck, and you hear you got time. No, you don't. You have no time. Because all of a sudden, like somebody just came skating fast, and it's like, and I just feel bad for whoever's out there because they're just like, oh, I was just going, picking it up, and all of a sudden they got to like, turn on the jets.
Yep. I don't know how. Not too many guys on our level have jets.
Jets.
Turn on the propellers, maybe.
Because it could be me, and I don't have jets. So.
Yeah, I don't think I have jets anymore either. I skated out the first time. Well, a few times this year with you guys, but I did a drop in last week, and it's just like I had a breakaway, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, I'm not going as fast as I should be, and I think somebody got me from behind and got the puck from me, and I was like, oh man. That's what happens when you don't skate out regularly.
It happens to some of us to skate out exclusively too, so I don't get as many breakaways as I would think I would get either.
Well, you play defense for one.
And yet somehow I'm good for like a breakaway a year. I don't know how.
Catch them in a change, maybe.
That's always what it is. I actually had one from the new team that's, above us. I actually had a breakaway in like the second game. And every time I get anything like that, my first instinct isn't, oh man, I got to go to the net. My first instinct is I turn and look around because I assume I'm going to look back and there's going to be somebody laid out on the ice and everyone's over there, or something like that happened. And that's how I have it. I just figured something disaster happened. There's no way it naturally can happen.
I I don't even know what to do when I have a breakaway. I'll just shoot from the top of the circle. I have no moves. So it's just like a breakaway is almost wasted on me because I'm not that good of a sniper that I'm going to snipe the goalie either.
I mean, you know me. I have nothing. I don't know what to do. You know, I freeze. I freeze terribly on it.
Throw the puck on net and hopefully you got a trailer who can pick up the rebound.
I mean, I don't shoot normally, so I don't have big breakaway moves. I don't even practice shots in pregame. I practice dumps around the boards. Okay, so going back to the original topic with new team dynamics, have you noticed any kind of differences from when you join a new team, as a skater versus as a goalie?
I think maybe a little bit, only because with skating out, I think it was, for example, when I joined you had an established team and I didn't feel any kind of pressure I don't want to say I didn't feel pressure to perform, because obviously you want to play well for your new team and, justify them, having you. Whereas where the goalie, obviously there's mistakes show up a lot, they're a lot more pronounced versus skating out. So I think, and the other thing too is everybody thinks goalies are real weird, obviously, because, it's just an old stereotype. So,
it's mostly
people may treat you a little different in the locker room, just trying to feel you out and, seeing what it's like. And I think it was a little different for me too, because when I started playing goalie, the team I joined was still very new. So I actually, not to sound like I'm some old timer who has got all this hockey wisdom, but, they needed a couple dry erase board sessions of, this is where you're supposed to be during these, certain scenarios. So I think that was helpful because they were eager to learn. So it made getting to know everybody and all that a lot easier and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some differences, but I don't think they're that significant.
Okay.
Just nuance of the position.
I know, whenever we have a goalie fill in for us, I mean, this, everyone's always so thankful for everything, because you can't play if you don't have a goalie. I mean, you can, but it sucks. So you're always so happy to have the goalie fill in, and you kind of don't care if they play terrible or not. You're just happy that they're there with it. And kind of the same thing, I know, when you're looking for a goalie on your team regularly. Like if your team, you have a team and then your goalie leaves for whatever reason, you're just kind of happy to be able to find a goalie that commits to you. It's way different than, finding skaters, because, I mean, I think basically every team in our league, every year adds a couple people. Like, I don't think almost no teams stay the same year to year completely. So it's a normal thing to have some new skaters, but goalies don't really move around that much. So when you're in need of one and then you finally get one, you're usually so thankful that you had one and that you're able to find them. That, I don't know, I didn't know if that translated to the goalie or not, that they noticed that, or.
Yeah, people are always very thankful. And for me, it's strange because I go in with a weird mindset, because obviously you don't want to lose. And like I was saying before, with goalie, it's so much of winning and losing is on the goalie's shoulders. So I'm super nervous when I have to go sub for somebody, even if it's people I know that I've subbed for before, because obviously you want to perform really well. So you're right, but people are always very, thank you so much, which makes it a lot easier than after you lose. And even when they're still thankful, and you're kind of like, are you really still thankful? Or are you just being nice because you had a goalie show up? But so yeah, that can be a little different. So, but yeah, you're right. Without the goalie, it's not fun. So yeah, everybody's usually very, very thankful and happy when, they have a backup goalie that can fill in.
Right. Yeah, because like I said, I know for us, when we've had back, goalies filling. Honestly, it's been you usually now filling in for us, and I mean, we're super thankful for it, because, well, I think you were there for the game that we played where we started without a goalie. It's like 2 years ago, and that was not great. That was not fun at all. to play without a goalie for a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quite. Yeah, it was a couple of minutes without a goalie. 6 skaters out there, not fun to do. Not fun to do. And I know in pickups, it's always a big deal to have goalies. I know you play regular pickups where you're the regular goalie and like it's a lot more organized. But I'm thinking like there's a stick and puck that I go to, and when a goalie shows up, everyone's so happy. They're so because it's rare that a goalie shows up. You know, it's like, oh, we have something to shoot at besides. They don't have shooter tutors. They have like a couple targets that they put in the goal, and it's like, oh, we have actually something we can shoot at now. We're so happy to do that. It just makes it so much more fun.
Yeah. I think it's getting easier too with technology and all the apps. You know, most teams now all have a team app where you can check in and stuff like that. A lot of the drop-ins are all going to that same thing too. Because you're absolutely right. You know, it's good to know. I mean, as the organizer, you obviously want to know how many people are showing up. You got to cover the cost of the ice, obviously. But yeah, so you can see when you need a goalie, and you know, you can get a bunch of different goalies signed up that can just check in who can make it and who can't make it and things like that. But yeah, the drop-ins without goalies sucks.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah.
So I would think even those stick and puck sessions, I'm surprised you had goalies show up, unless like someone said to their buddy, "Hey, show up," because otherwise, what's the goalie really going to do?
It's the thing of like they don't charge the goalies if they show up. So there's a guy that he's like, because it's at lunchtime, and there's a guy that, well, if I don't, you know, if I'm not doing anything, I can take a longer lunch. Yeah, I'll show up for free and, you know, get an hour and a half free, you know, hockey in. Like, why not?
Yeah.
You know, get some kind of a workout. You know, that's why. Because yeah, normally there's no goalies. If there's a goalie there, it's because they're with somebody and like they're learning to play goal, or it's like I've seen like the parents dressed up in goalie gear and they got their like younger kid there. Mm-hmm. And it's like that, you know, they're like, no, I'm just trying to teach my kid how to like shoot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, and those types of things.
We're totally getting off topic, but I could see not why goalies don't want to go to those things too. Even with some drop-ins, I know goalies that will say they don't even want to be warmed up in the beginning because, I'm sorry, we're getting off into different topics. Some teams need to be trained on how to warm up a goalie, and at drop-ins, there is no method to the madness. And you get plunked, and you got people shooting at the same times, and that's why I wouldn't show up for
levels too of people that are there.
Exactly, too. Yeah, so you don't know who's coming at you, and it's, you know, that's a good way to get hurt when you get multiple people shooting at you, and you know, so
yeah, I'd imagine. I didn't even think that's gonna be awful. Because yeah, especially at drop-ins where you don't know, like if it's one of these drop-ins where you like don't know people, it's not like an organized drop-in. Yeah, you got, you know, some guy that just finished playing college, just shooting missiles at the goalie, and somebody, you know, doing little muffin bounce shots and everything in between, and probably somebody that's just trying to shoot the goalie's head. I'm assuming that there's always somebody that's just trying to do that because everybody thinks that's hilarious.
It is. Who doesn't know it?
Again, I don't know. I don't shoot before games. I don't practice shooting before games. So I have no idea. You know,
you should add that to your repertoire. I think you would. I think you're probably pretty good at wrapping them around the boards at this point.
I don't know. That's my philosophy is I should practice what I'm actually going to do in a game.
But you get shots. Don't make it sound like you never get shots and stuff.
I barely do.
Well, then you got to be ready when you do.
You know, it's like
you're supporting my argument here, Roz, on why you need to do it.
Of a shot a game that I take.
Yeah, and you only need one more shot.
But you know me, I'm allergic to offense out there. I like want nothing to do with offense.
But it's going to happen.
I know it does, unfortunately.
That should be your new season resolution. 1 or maybe 2 practice shots just against the boards. Or maybe your goalie doesn't always stand in the net for warm-up shots. I don't
know if I can get it because he takes a couple, and I don't know if I can be one of the lucky ones to get a couple. Get in on that. All right. Remind me next game.
I won't be there.
Oh. All right. Well, then remind me the next game you're at.
I shouldn't have to remind you. How hard is it to remember?
I don't know. I got a lot going on before our games. I'm doing a lot of stuff out there. I'm setting up cameras and doing all the paperwork, which I don't know why there's paperwork before games to do, and putting the lineup together.
What kind of paperwork are you
I got to fill out the lineup card and get the ref money to the guys.
It's all stuff that should be taken care of.
Yeah, but I got to take it over there.
You hand it to them when you're skating by. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, we get a whole 3 minutes of time, so it's not like there's a whole bunch of time for me to,
You can take a shot in 5 seconds.
do all this stuff. Maybe. I don't know. You haven't. I don't know. It might take me longer to get 5 seconds to get a shot off.
Don't take such a big wind up. Work on your wrister.
I got to go do the Al McInnes and touch the ceiling.
I thought you were going to say one of your teammates who I won't name.
I've got multiple teammates that do that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have multiple teammates that do that.
That'll be another episode.
That could be another where we just trash teammates.
Your teammates without naming them. Where's this guy?
They'll appreciate that. Okay, so any other thoughts for how to handle joining a new team like that, or even stuff to look for? Is there anything that you can think of that you would have liked to have asked people or found out before joining a new team? Because I don't know about you, I haven't had a bad experience. I know people that have had bad experiences where they join a team and, like you were saying, like, you kind of maybe know them, but then you get on the team with them, you're like, oh, this is not, like, they just don't fit in for whatever reason with stuff. I don't know how you vet that. I've never had that. I don't know what you ask. I don't know what to.
I guess it depends on how you're getting on the team. If you move to a new city and you're joining, where you don't know anybody, obviously you're just getting the luck of the draw. But I would think so. If you are looking to join another team, what are your reasons? Is it maybe you want to play at a higher level? Who do you know? And, you could kind of, depending, if you have a friend on a team on a higher level, I mean, obviously you're probably going to want to talk to them about it and, do your homework ahead of time. I guess that's do your due diligence, but I don't know. But besides just word of mouth and just talking to people, I'm not really sure how much you can really do. And even that, there's no guarantee. One person may think, oh yeah, everybody on this team's really nice, and you get there and you don't like any of them. That's just sometimes the way things go. So, but try to do your homework if you can. If you know people that play against them, that's actually a good idea. Instead of talking to people that play on that team, talking to people that play against them. If you know anybody, what's their opinions of them? Because, obviously we all have opinions of the opposing teams and who we like on those teams and who we don't. And just talk to the people that you know and see if you can get an idea. If you have an administrator, maybe your admin could help point you in the right direction. Who seems to have a lot of turnover versus who doesn't have a lot of turnover.
I think that's a good thing to ask, because if there is a lot of turnover, regular turnover, because if there is, that should be a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that's something I know people have mentioned to me for Crusaders, that they are shocked that we have so little turnover. And that's one of the things that makes them go, hey, you guys must all really get along. And it's like, yeah, because I know there are other teams that do have, every 3 years, they're almost a whole new roster. You're like, okay, there's something going on there.
Yeah. I was going to say, now that you mentioned that with Crusaders, now that I'm thinking about it, basically people leave because they move. With the exception of like one or two people, like I think of one guy who's kind of retired as far as we know, but besides that, Crusaders for life, man.
That's how it is. That's how it is. Once you sign up, I don't let you leave.
Yeah, we have fun. We're not the greatest team, and sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but we always have fun.
Right. All right. Well, do you have any other thoughts on this? Any other additions?
I don't think so. I think
Tips,
we
tricks.
covered it a lot. No, we got to save. We got to save some stuff for future podcasts.
Well, tips
I'll
or
get
tricks
all of it.
for when you join a new team or finding a new team that you from your vast years of experience with it.
No, I've just kind of stumbled into teams. Kind of when I started playing net, it was just purely dumb luck. They ended up with the team that I was on. They needed a goalie, and I had the gear, and they didn't think I was that terrible. So. And the other team, or the other, when I joined you all, it was just I was following a guy who actually didn't end up on the team, but he said he knew a few people on the team, and everybody was pretty cool, and it worked. The rest is history.
All right, I think that says it all. All right, well, thank you, Rob.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it, and thanks everybody for listening. And we will catch you on the next one.